Get her going. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Schilling. I greatly appreciate you being here this evening. We're going to talk about how to become a master of networking. Now, before we really get into this tonight, I want you to understand a couple different things. There's going to be a lot of new information in here, so I encourage you to get out a paper and pen or pencil and be ready to take some notes along the way. I'll watch the chat box from time to time, or maybe ask a question and see if we can't get some answers going live right away. The reason I wanted to do this presentation, quite frankly, is has anybody besides me noticed that the business world has changed? The fact of the matter is the way we used to do business will never be done the same way again. And so therefore the components of the way we do business will never be done that way again going forward. So again, it's very important that we address the things that are critical to our business, like networking, but we're going to have to look at them a little differently than maybe we did in the past. So what is networking? Well, it's a developed strategy for meeting and having conversations with hopefully like-minded, like-hearted professionals. You're both looking to promote your companies, your ideas, your products, and your services. There's two most common ways that professionals actually network. The first is face-to-face personal networking events. Those are industry events, mixers, groups, things like that. Obviously, we've had a challenge with that for the last 90 days or so. And then there's the online networks, the social media services like LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, or quite frankly, a brand new disruptive platform called Be Connected. This event will be focused mostly on the keys to in-person networking, but I'll also share some things about the online networking and really a very effective method for making connections. In fact, quite frankly, coming out of being sheltered in place after this lockdown caused by the pandemic, we need to explore new methods for saving time, energy, and money going forward. Our target is making the most efficient personal connections we possibly can, saving time, energy, and money. So why should we mingle? Well, many of us are socially shy or feel too busy to join a networking event. But the benefits for taking the time to put ourselves out there could mean making that base or that sell an idea for a product or service, or making the connection that you really need. And there are added benefits of in-person engagement. Well, what might those be? The first is to improve communication. In-person communication gives people the opportunity to read nonverbal clues. Now, remember, there were studies done long ago that 8% of your or 7% of your communication is the words. 38% is the tonality behind your words. 55% is the physiology behind the tonality. So if you truly want to improve your connection ability, you're going to have to practice these various modalities as you do this. The likelihood of your message coming across much better and much more as you intended will develop as you improve those communications. Secondly, you want to build better teams, quite frankly. We all have our areas of expertise, but when you're attending networking events, it increases the opportunity for people to get to know, like, and trust you with company groups or company cultures, or even knowing a little bit more about you. The other thing that definitely happens when you mingle is you can demonstrate your value. It's one thing to read about you, or maybe read about your company or your product, your goods, your services, but meeting a person in person and having the opportunity to present your company, your product, or your ideal in a casual, conversational way is truly beneficial. Now, what does networking achieve? Well, let's take the word networking and replace it every time you see it through this presentation with relationship building. There are many benefits to networking, relationship building, that go way beyond the initial meeting of like-minded people. Marketing yourself, your company, products, goods, services is a great reason to network. But by attending the event, you're also intensifying that opportunity to build relationships. You're matching a face with a name. It's a way of opening up new doors, of gaining support for networks or groups that you might be championing. It's a great way to introduce fresh ideas. It's actually a great way to bounce ideas off of others to see how well they fly. It gives you increased visibility, and there's some other great networking options available to you, quite frankly. So where to network? Well, there's a lot of networking opportunities in the community for professional meetups. There are some great websites that can help you with that. Actually, meetup.com being one of them. That's why they named it that. But I want to share one for your consideration, and that is Be Connected. And if you have some time and have some desire, I encourage you, take a look at learnaboutbeconnected.com. See, this is the premier hub for entrepreneurs, small business owners, home-based business owners, CEOs, founders of companies that want to come together to connect and collaborate to make a bigger impact through this intentional community designed around quality and integrity. Once you find a great place to connect, the next step is to really get prepared for that event. This is where you might have to think outside the box. Another great way to network is to consider options outside of your business as a great place to maybe make the perfect contact and get it outside the business atmosphere. Where could that be? Sporting events, book clubs, hobby groups, even hosting events are a great way to meet like-minded, like-hearted individuals based on mutual interests. Now, it's not so much the business ties, but it is the personal ties. So let's stop down for a quick second. Can anybody think of some not so common places where you could network and, more importantly, create and nurture relationships? Let me just pop up into the chat and see what. Yeah, Richard, I know my video was popping on and off, so I just put the picture up there. Biggest challenge to finding networkers is not takers. Absolutely, Jeff. At gatherings of friends, absolutely a great place for doing that. See, I think sometimes everybody gets so linear in their thinking about networking. And in fact, it's not so much about being linear as it is about moving forward as you go along. So let's keep on going. Thanks for the suggestions. Now, the best way to succeed when networking is to show up with a plan and really commit to it. Working out your plan of execution should start by asking yourself some pretty simple questions. Like, what do I want to accomplish? Why are you going to the meeting in the first place? From there, consider the following steps to firm up your plan. I would encourage you to get clear on your goals. What is your purpose for going there? Identify your needs and your interests. Now, it's not all about you, but you at least need to know what you're going there for. Decide if formal or informal networking works best for you. Now, sometimes there are times ahead of meetings or behind meetings. Then there's a structured meeting itself. Next, we'll look at how to present, not pitch, your idea, your product, your service, or company. Now, here's a sidebar. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. You are a professional, and as such, your communication should be that of a professional, salesperson, or business owner, not baseball player. Professional salespeople present. Baseball players pitch. Now, you may think this is a slight difference, but actually it can be pretty huge in the minds of your audience. It's the care and quality you put into your presentation that makes a tremendous difference. So let's work at finding your presentation. When you're networking, it's imperative that you have a brief overview of your business, your product, or your service prepared for making introductions to prospective partnerships, to the folks that are at those networking meetings. Now, many times this is called an elevator presentation. That's right, you're already learning. See, it's a very succinct nature or opinion that the person can successfully present himself or herself, their business, or an idea in a minute or less. See, that's the time it takes typically to travel in an elevator, hence the reason for the name. Let's look at some key points in constructing a successful presentation. How do you fine tune it? Well, the elevator presentation is meant to be concise. So it is critical to prepare your presentation ahead of time, to keep any long, meandering, chatty, kind of wandering talk to a minimum, thus ensuring that you come across with confidence and a clear message. If people don't understand what you're presenting, you have a problem. Your presentation should include an introduction to who you are, what you do, as well as a description of your company, your client base, what sets you apart from similar companies or brands. It also might include your company goals or something interesting about your brand. Your motivation is to kind of hook some interest in the other person. So aside from being concise, it must be impactful. My encouragement is many times it should also be playful. That's right. Why? People do business with those they know, like, and trust. If they don't know you, they don't like you. If they don't like you, they don't trust you. You have to get them to trust you, which means you have to first get them to know you. For them to want to do that, you have to get them to like you. So have fun. Enjoy this time. Now, how do you perfect your presentation? Like anything, practice helps you hone your skills. How you deliver your presentation is just as important as what you say. So practice your presentation enough times that you can hit it with a good cadence and feel natural. See, there's nothing wrong I say this a lot of time in training, if you're happy, tell your face. I mean, this is supposed to be fun. You're doing what you love to do. That's your business in meeting people. You want to sound conversational and not like you're delivering an aggressive sales presentation. In turn, you don't want to sound too formulaic either. You want to let it flow. You want to have some fun. You also want to follow the other person and what they're mirroring to you. Your practice should be focused on being casual. Body language portrays as much about the information as the words. So I would consider practicing your presentation in front of a mirror with a keen eye on how your body is responding as you speak. I remember my dad in Toastmasters so many years ago practicing in front of a mirror that he would look himself dead in the eye. And that's what gave him such great eye contact with his audiences for the rest of his career. It's the first impression that affects the way people perceive one another upon meeting. So the way you present, the way you look, your body language, everything that you're doing plays a part in the impression for the other person. In fact, you need to throw your body into it. There are some body language clues to look for when you're practicing your own presentation. First of all, your stance. It should be open and welcoming. Your hands should be turned upright. Your arm position should not be folded or in any manner that shuts out the person on the receiving end. If you're using your hands to gesture, make sure that you don't point with a single finger. You can actually point with all 5 fingers at the same time. Now that works. A single finger is accusatory. A open palm pointing facing up actually presents a calm and open demeanor. Your expression should be, one of excitement and happiness. Now, don't be silly, don't be goofy, but enjoy yourself. Make eye contact. Make sure that you're looking and listening. Listen with your eyes. And don't forget the handshake. Your hand engagement, or today in our age of social distancing and everything, a good fist bump at the right time, done the right way. You also have to be in clue with the times. Be firm and confident, but friendly. Always keep in mind that networking, remember, relationship building is a two-way street. While you're networking to present your business, your ideas, your product, or your services, you're really looking to establish long-term relationships. That means when you meet new people, you want to ask as many questions as possible to get them interested in you. See, the person that asks the questions is actually controlling the time, the conversation together. And better to be interested than interesting. Now, by holding the conversation, you can find out, about the person you're meeting, if they're the right fit for you, if there's some company match, some ideal match, things like that. Let's look at some steps to share in a great conversation. Again, listen before you speak. One of the things I train on consistently is always try to tell the second story. If you're telling the second story, by definition, they're telling the first. Have a generous ear to one of the greatest tools. Having a generous ear is one of your greatest tools in your networking toolbox. A good listener establishes trust, connection, and mutual understanding. All quality conversations and relationships can be connected back to this one simple activity. So, here's some simple tips to ensure that you come across as a good listener. Ask open-ended questions. Those are questions that elicit a response far more than simply a yes or no. They offer opinions or statements from the other side. Listen to the response. And only after you've listened carefully, prepare your response and a statement going back to them. Again, this is a mutual conversation, but I can assure you the more you subordinate and actually listen more and talk less, you will be perceived to be a far greater business person than the one who's talking the most. It's just the way it works. So the idea is to keep them talking. Here are some great questions that evoke more than just a yes or no response. What's the size of your organization? What describes your ideal or perfect customer? How does your company stand out from your competition? What makes you different? How do you have so much direct client contact? What products or services do you provide? What do you see as major trends in your industry? One of my favorite questions to ask is, if you could improve one thing in your business, what would it be? See, all of these are designed to get them talking. Does anybody have any great questions that they want to offer up in the chat? If you do, please do. I'd love to see some more. If you can find yourself making this strong connection, feel free to ask a couple personal questions, because again, people do business with those they know, like, and trust. And personal relationship is part of a business relationship. Let's see what just popped up here. I love that, Nikki. What can I do to support you? That's a wonderful question. anything that we can do to show care and you can concern. Dan, you said, can you repeat the questions? You know, I could, but it'd be better if I just sent you the recording and you could write them down again. No, I'll repeat them for you. What's the size of your organization? Who is your perfect customer? How does your company stand out from the competition? Do you have much direct contact with your clients? What products or services do you provide? What do you see as the major trends in the industry today? What do you see as the major challenges in our industry with a pandemic around the world? See, we've got plenty of things to talk about. Nikki, I love that. How can I be of service to you? All those kinds of things for sure. If you can find yourself making that strong connection, then again, you get into the personal questions. Keep it positive and not too deeply personal. Discovering that you have a mutual interest outside your business is a great way to establish rapport. See, part of the questioning process is also an observation process. If you can look at signs, the way they're dressed, the things on their wall, if you're going to somebody's office, these are all clues. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So let's get back to it. So when we're attracting the right energy, remember we network, we build these relationships to engage and do business with successful, energetic, enthusiastic people, and the people we meet are looking for the same thing. Again, if you're happy, tell your face. Have fun doing this. Be mindful of the energy that you're emoting. Have you ever seen anybody so incongruent, like going, I am so excited to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity. They sound like they're dead. If you're having fun, have fun. After all, the way you put it out is the way you get it back. If you want enthusiasm, you got to be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm comes from the Greek entheos, or of God's Spirit. When you're enthusiastic, you're in God's Spirit. I'm pretty sure he was rocking most of the time, you know? So when you're enthusiastic about your business, you come across your message is so much different than if you're not. Instead of attracting new contacts, you'll probably repel people if you're not excited. Again, now I'm not saying be totally crazy with everything, but I'm saying be appropriate and pay attention to how you are interacting. Positive energy attracts positive energy. Remember, your approach are in your interactions with the same energy that you are hoping to attract in return. Now, be careful what you ask for. So when networking, you're presenting our best, most professional selves. So be sure not to break the decorum by asking something straight away. You know, don't just walk in and pop them in the forehead. As with any partnership, it takes time to get to know, like, and build trust with somebody. So making specific requests when you've only just met them is a sure way to diminish the likelihood of them wanting to talk with you further. I see this many times in networking groups. In fact, I said it in a presentation I did just the other day. People sit there, they've never met anybody, they don't work to meet anybody, they don't build know, like, and trust. They go try to sell the room. Nobody responds to them, and they go, oh, this group stinks. It has nothing to do with the group. It has everything to do with not building and earning the right to be able to share something like that at that time. Networking is about getting to know people. It's about getting to like people, and more important, them liking you. Only then does trust begin to become established. Benefits of your relationship come once a solid rapport has been created. Then the next step, follow your lead. One of the first steps in establishing good rapport when you're networking is to always follow up with your viable contacts in 24 hours or less to express your pleasure at having met them and maybe mention a specific or standout moment from your conversation. It's about nurturing that relationship. See, it just started. You need to develop it further. How do you develop that relationship further? Well, consider these steps. Ask the contact to lunch or coffee. I mean, find another way to do it. Quite frankly, in this era right now, as opposed to simple text or phone conversations, I'm encouraging people to use Zoom. Why? Because you can see and feel all three modalities: the words, the tonality, and the physiology. So again, you might want to take it to Zoom if you can't get face to face, or some kind of video messaging system. Connect via social media. Again, not stalking, but look to find out mutual interests, a variety of different things. Phone to set up a follow-up meeting. And yes, our phones are actually phones. They're not just texting devices. I encourage you, the more personal your conversations are, the better you will be. And consider becoming part of an intentional online community like Be Connected. It's exactly why it's growing so quickly. So locking down your lead. Now that you've gone to the networking event, you've sent your follow-up email, to the people you've connected with, what's the next step? What do you do? To ensure that people you met are interested in furthering the conversation, make sure you leave the event knowing that you left your contacts with the following: visibility. In other words, be visible, a clear idea of who you are and what you hope to do. Your credibility, that's a sense of mutual trust. And interest, a shared interest or goal that is mutually beneficial for you both. It can't be one-sided or the other. It has to be mutual. If you've covered these three things, you should have no problem nurturing and deepening your connections as you go forward. Keep your contacts close. The key to fruitful networking is understanding that you're working to establish real, deep relationships with professional contacts. The way that you nurture relationships is based on the depth or lack of depth of that relationship. If your network will not serve you if you do not build and cultivate these relationships. You can't simply meet somebody once and go, that's it, I'm done with the investing in this relationship. Not the way it works. It's essential that you maintain your relationships by connecting with your contacts regularly. Now, once a day, once a week may be a little excessive, but you may want to say, hey, can I check back with you in 30 days or so? Maybe some are 90 days or so. Whatever you choose, your continued effort and support will deepen those relationships. Sometimes people ask me, Scott, how did you get on the Get Motivated stages with all the amazing speakers you shared the stage with? It was a 10-year process. I spoke at an event in Dallas. They were understaffed. Once I was done, I asked if I could serve them in the back of the room. They said, we can't pay you. I said, when did I ever ask to be paid? I simply asked if I could serve. I served them the rest of the weekend. 5 years later, that same person came into a room at the Marina Hotel in Sarasota, Florida. I said, hey, Richard, how you doing? He goes, you remember me? I said, of course. We did that great event in Dallas about 5 years ago. 5 years later, he was responsible for putting the people on the stages that Get Motivated. They asked, who's the best speaker not speaking on our stages right now? They all wrote down a name. All three wrote down my name. They made a call. I was a 10-year overnight sensation. Now, do you think I wanted to be on that stage earlier? Of course I did. But if that's what it took, that's what it took. Today's activity does not determine today's volume. Today's volume is determined by what you did 30, 60, 90 days ago. Today's activity determines what happens 30, 60, 90 days from now. Well, with that, we're off. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. If you stick around for another minute, I've got a little something I want to share with you for your further consideration, and that's to learn about Be Connected. Again, a premier hub for successful entrepreneurs, small business owners, CEOs and founders to connect and collaborate for greater impact in the world. It's a like-minded, like-hearted community, so there are connections for entrepreneurs. There's world-class coaching. There are savings benefits like top-tier webinar platforms and travel. Any and all of this is worth learning about. If you'd like to learn more, please send me an email at scott@scottschilling.com to set up the time to talk more about this presentation or specifically about the Be Connected community if that's of interest to you. If anybody has any questions, I'll hang around here for a little bit. We can ask or answer any questions. This is being recorded. If you would like a recording of this so that you can go over it another time, would love to have you. Again, thank you for coming to the event. Truly appreciate it. It means a lot to be able to share this lesson with people who are ready to start building stronger connections with like-minded, more importantly, like-hearted professionals that want to help grow their businesses and stay relevant, especially coming out of this pandemic and everything we're going for. I'm seeing a few things in the chat. Zip, great slides and info. Thanks, Zip. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, Saf. Appreciate it. Please send the recording. You got it there, Lloyd. I'll make that happen for you. For everybody else, again, thank you for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. If I can ever do anything to be of service to you, scott@scottschilling.com. Please feel free to reach out. Look forward to connecting again soon. Have a great evening. God bless. Take care.